What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. This is a functional video as well as an update to the most recent opera. Now, in the last video, a solid commenter broke down his model for what selfhood is, how it works. He described it as three things. He calls it the social mask, which is the you show to other people, use around other people. The conscious self, which is what inside you view yourself to be, think you are, how you feel about yourself consciously. And then the unconscious self. And I like this entire model, sharp as a knife, but I really like his description of the unconscious self. The unconscious self is the you, all the you, your conscious self is not aware of. And further, so I can be complete with his example, he thinks the conscious self can be changed the way a social mask can be changed, but it needs to be done much more carefully. Because in his model, it's, as he says, the master architect modifying itself. Now, I like this three-part model a lot. And maybe this is what he means, but the way I view it, all three of those parts are affecting one another at all times. And I don't just mean influencing one another at all times, because obviously they do that, but I mean all the three parts, or each of the three parts, is changing all the other parts all together at all times. Because, as an example, I'm not someone who changes my mind very often. Consciously, anyway. I find, and that's probably a pride thing, I'll change my mind on a dime if someone enters the right code. But when I change my mind, and I do change my mind often, including about things I feel consciously I'm pretty stern about, but it happens unconsciously, and by the time it's changed, I don't even notice that a change has occurred. Anyway, genius model here. I've been thinking a lot about the unconscious self. And I was given, I mean, we're always thinking about the unconscious and the shadow and the anima, all this stuff. But I had a dream a while ago that forced me to do a lot of thinking. It's called, I have a video about it going into it specifically. It's called Jake and the Clones. Now, after some uncomfortable work, we accepted the fact Jake is not exactly a warning. Jake is me, and Jake is spooky and scary, and we've been riffing on that and trying to figure it all out since it happened. But I don't think Jake is just an aspect of the shadow. Thanks to this model, I think Jake is also a model of my wider unconscious. Because one of the things Jake was doing in the dream was he was growing a clone of me in a vat next to his bed, and he would torture it, and he had a separate name for it, and he kept saying that this thing deserved to be punished. And I realized today, well, we're always aware you aren't alone in your body. As in, I don't think if you say you mean everything within your identity or your body. I don't think that's you. I think you are a combination of awareness and, as that commenter said, the conscious self. But you actually have a lot of different fully realized people in your head. Because let's think about the Jake situation in relation to this model. Jake is one identity. But, and you have an idea of what the clone he's torturing represents. And I realized there are probably, and this is why I like the way that commenter described the unconscious self as everything the conscious self doesn't know. because there can be a lot of stuff in there. I think there are two unconscious competing views of what I am, and probably what you are. Because at present, I think my conscious self is a person with Jake-ish tendencies, and Jake is the fully realized version of this potential, or maybe ongoing, transformation. But the thing he's torturing is another me. And I think that me is a me I am and know primarily through sexuality, but is present everywhere and might even be the core or ultimate self conception. It's just located mostly in the unconscious. Because let's think about sexuality for a minute. My fetishes specifically. They all relate to being tormented, feeling powerless, feeling punished, punished to the ultimate extent, powerless to the ultimate extent. And also, I think it's funny, like when Patrice O'Neill was asking about Jimmy's masochism, Jim Norton's, he asked, "What did you do? What did you do that in some fucked up way makes you feel like you deserve this to happen to you?" O'Neill is a saint. He had the eyes of a prophet. I think I'm defined by guilt over original sin. And let's talk about good and evil for a moment. Little tangent, but important tangent. Life is bad. Mostly bad things will happen to you. And if good things happen to you, it's probably a trick, it's probably a catch, or there is probably a catch. And if it is actually a good thing, you will lose something to maintain it. That's the basic state of things. And when you're dealing with a world like this in which you cannot do good things and expect it to get anywhere, because it's not even like you do something good and you feel good about it. There is no karma. And if there is a system, it feels like anti-karma because no good deed goes unpunished. That's not just a saying, that's the fact of things. Anytime you try to do something good, to go out of your way to do something good, you will be made to pay for it viciously. And existing in a world like this, I've been practicing evil. Not just being a low frequency, generally bad person, which is what most people are. They trick themselves, they lie, they want to feel good about themselves. They aren't good people. They aren't evil people either, they're just humanly bad. And I've been building up my evil muscles, so if we have to be bad, if that's the only way to do things, to survive and to succeed, you'll notice nobody in power is really good. Then you better start practicing it. And not just doing things you would define as evil for essential reasons, but also, and maybe even most importantly, practicing doing evil things for the sake of doing evil things so you can be able to do it. But within all this practice, there is a line. And I think that line is specific to everybody. You see it in Platoon with Sergeant Barnes. Everything Barnes does to Barnes is justified, no matter how awful, except for killing Elias. That was his line, and he crossed it, and he was made to pay for it. Now, for you, you're aware of this line, and I think you do need to force yourself to cross it sometimes. But why is there so much trepidation about crossing it? Why would you prefer not to cross it? To me, it's a matter of deserving. As in, as long as you stay behind the line, bad things will always happen to you, but you won't deserve them. But once you cross that line, bad things will still happen to you, but you will deserve them. And they don't feel that much different, and it's all the stuff is still bad. So why does it feel so important? I should not feel so important not to cross the line, but so important to be aware of the line and what it means. I think, at least to you, that line and where you stand on it determines how you feel about punishment. For example, I just recorded probably 2 minutes of audio and then it corrupted. Right now, I'm feeling a mild I don't deserve that. In essence, if you're behind the line, you feel like you don't deserve it, and that feels bad in its own way. If you cross the line, you feel like you do deserve it, and and that feels bad, but how else could you expect things to go? You deserve what's happening to you, but it still would be happening to you if you were behind the line, so why does that feel so different? I don't think that matters as much as the fact you have an understanding of punishment and whether or not you deserve it. That's what's important here. And we think about that clone that's being tortured. I think I feel like I don't deserve to be alive. As in, it's a travesty that I'm alive, it's a crime that I'm alive, a crime that I deserve to be punished for, and going over that line or engaging in this evil shit makes me even less deserving of being alive. Even though the world has done everything it can to push you in this direction. And I know we have a bunch of positivity dummies on this channel. I don't view or these pushings don't feel like tests that you're supposed to resist. If there is a test, it is your willingness to go into ugly places you don't want to go. That's the essence of shadow work. This is the intended path, but you are also intended to feel bad about it. And it's interesting because I don't feel I hate myself consciously. I like myself quite a lot consciously. I'm a narcissist consciously. And why wouldn't you be? You're the only person who will ever have your back. And again, I don't mean that in a hugging yourself way. I mean, you is an entity. You is you and not you, and you better love that thing. You better love yourself, because it's like a loyal dog. It's the only thing that will stand by you until the very end, and exactly the way you need it to stand by you. You say jump, it says how high. However, in engaging in fetishes my entire life, it's hard not to notice what's going on here. Clearly, you want to be harmed for some reason, because part of, at least for me, part of sexuality, part of achieving orgasm, means, or feeling like everything is as it should be. And what does it mean that you're being ultimately powerless, you're being ultimately worthless, you're being tortured, is as things should be? You have some kind of self-contempt, and it's interesting thinking about this stuff because I think you think about things. I think your conscious mind can grapple with unconscious ideas, penetrate into the unconscious, but it feels like you don't hold on to these thoughts or these revelations until you're supposed to. As in, this is leading up to the punishment thing. I'm aware there's a punishment aspect to this. I've been aware of that for a long time. But it didn't click until very recently. And it's a combination of this dream and this woman I met. Now, sexually, fetishistically, we are each other's complements. If there are two roles that need each other to exist, then we are each other's roles. And in a situation like this, I've encountered a woman like her one time before, but that wasn't a situation in which I could interact with her on that level. This was different because I could. Now, it was all theoretical, it was all abstract, and because this lasted only a few days, I kept my honor, which we'll get to, maybe, but I was able to feel what I was feeling or how I feel about myself because I was finally speaking with someone who was, in the archetypal sense, my complement. More my shadow than my shadow, maybe. I love melodrama. I love whipping up my emotions because I get to, feel things that aren't misery and think about these things in heightened states and what did I feel myself feeling in this heightened state. I wanted two things from her. I wanted her to punish me, and I wanted her to absolve me, which was interesting. The punishment operated on two levels. First level punishment, punish me for engaging in evil, for becoming what I have become and probably what I will become. And then also punish me for being alive. And we're both into size, so this worked smoothly, at least in concept. In life, you are literally a germ. Going all the way back, you are an antigen. You exist and you shouldn't. That you exist is a crime, and you deserve to be punished for the crime of existing. And furthermore, thinking about it right now, and I love making videos because I get to talk through shit and realize things in real time. I think I feel guilty that I exist. And being punished for a crime relieves that guilt. I no longer have to feel guilty that I'm alive because I am rapidly being made not alive. Or I'm being tortured emotionally or physically and being made to feel fear. And the worse I feel, the less guilty I need to feel because the crime is being punished. The problem is being corrected. And as a symbol, as a concept, she was very good at that. Or good for that, I should say. We talked a lot about it, but we didn't engage, and that was a good move. Because, and I said it to her, I can't separate emotion and sexuality, or attachment and sexuality. So if I engage, I'm gonna get emotional, I'm gonna get attached. And she wanted to engage, but didn't want to be emotionally involved, and that's fine. Didn't want to be attached, that's fine. But I can't go through with this, even though I badly want to. In my notes, I described it as the the best steak ever made on the planet might be the best steak ever made, but it's nothing without rice. You you can get high with a super perfect steak, but you won't reach the tip top without rice. And here rice is the emotions. And that's you don't understand how painful that is because I have never felt this this much possibility sexually. And not just for the physical sensation, for the orgasm, but also for this unconscious exploration. But because there's no emotion, because there isn't love and can never be love, it will never it's dying on the vine. And that's not something worth engaging in. It does a disservice to what's out there. And it's so brutal because you take this level of psychological and spiritual sexuality and you combine it with somebody who has emotion, and there are heights we can achieve that have never ever been seen before and probably won't be seen again for a long time by any human. But it's okay. And I'm actually I mean I know this was a test from Venus or Hecate. Cruel, mean test. Sticking in my face something I have dreamed of. And then forcing me to make a principled, responsible decision. It's cruel. I don't like it. But props to her, too. If she wanted only the sexuality, she could have played me. She could have played me easily and devastated me over it. And she chose not to. I was honest about what I wanted. She was honest about what she wanted and what she could and couldn't provide. And we agreed to stop. Like, it's weird having actually mature interactions with another person and being a mature person and dealing with a mature person. And that makes it even worse. If nothing else, I think in patterns and proofs of concept, she proves women like this can exist. All I need to do is find one, or rather, and maybe we'll do this a little more actively in the future, get into high intensity gardening. Because this lit a fire under me. She was into size NTR, which, this is another little pattern I'm noticing. Freak women are usually a little quad gay, a little bisexual woman to woman, and they like seeing a bit of man to man. That's very common in highly, prodigiously sexual women. Whereas with highly freaky dudes, you see the opposite. There is a fear of homosexuality, which actually works in my favor. Heteroflexibility is a nice tag to have, and I put this in the notes too. Maybe homo capability. Anyway, now that I know this can happen, I mean, this was a mean test God slapped me with, but now I know, and I can go make it happen. But that was a long tangent. Let's get back into the absolution. The other thing I felt, but wasn't expecting to feel. I wanted her, after devastating me, to see me as a good person, to forgive me of my sins, and to make everything okay. Or to give me a pardon and make it okay for me to be alive. And I'm willing to bet this is a pattern in masochistic people if you dig hard enough. Another thing Jimmy Norton said, one of his childhood fantasies that was definitely not sexual in any nature. As a child, Jimmy wanted the band Kiss, all men, to come to his house and shove him down the stairs and kick him and beat him and torture him, and then once they were done, to hug him and hold him and nurse him back to health and tell him he's great and everything will be okay. That's exactly what I'm talking about, what I wanted with this woman, but in a different context. Jimmy wanted leathery men to beat him. I wanted a biblically accurate angel woman to crush me with another man's dick. And maybe that's what this all is. You're looking for... If you can find someone capable of punishing you the way you feel you need to be punished, then in them you've also found someone who can forgive you and absolve you, baptize you maybe. And this all got me thinking about the unconscious and sexuality's role in it, especially fetish's role in it. Now, if you've been hanging around this channel for a while, I don't think we've discussed it deeply on this channel, but you do your video watching, you do your book reading or article reading, what have you, you're familiar with the concept of sex magic. It's already canon that sexuality is key to many things, and if we're going by my impressions, probably everything. That's why low sexuality grosses me out, and I define low sexuality as just physical sensations, or just getting off. And you can literally smell these people. It's like watching monkeys climb around a supercar and shit all over it. They can't even comprehend what they're dealing with. To them, this is just a thing to climb on and shit on. And it does serve that purpose for them. It is something that they can climb on and shit on, but that is so far from all it is. And it's repulsive. And that's also why I chose not to abstractly consummate a non connection or an understanding with this woman. With her, certainly you could perform high sexuality, abstract sexuality, a degree of soul searching, but it's like a plate of food. If you don't have all the ingredients, then you are not taking it, or even, and that's the thing, right? As long as you're trying to take it as far as it can go, that's acceptable. But even if you take it to a high level, but you know you aren't going as high as you could, that's a problem. Not to mention the fact I don't want to get attached to someone that this is all it would ever be. And I reiterate, that's not either of our faults. We both were tested. God damn it. We both passed. She didn't tempt me and lie to me the way she could, and I didn't give in to that admittedly gravitationally attractive lowness. The other thing that commenter said in another comment was, you need to ask yourself if this is something you'll think about and regret for the rest of your life. This is something I will be thinking about for the rest of my life. And I hate that I don't regret it. I hate it, but there is not another option here. And if nothing else, I'm thankful for the way my brain works. Once I understand a path is not viable, I'm not someone who will try to walk it and try to make it work. If a path is viable, even if it appears to be impassable, then I can work on it. And I can usually find a way through it. As long as there is that viability. But if it's not viable, even if it looks easy to walk, and god damn. Oh god, what a fucking path. What a non-viable path I have chosen not to walk down. It's paved, but with that track and field material so your bones don't get hurt, but you also aren't walking through the dirt, so you can walk forever. There are these beautiful old homes on one side of the road. Oh god, and on this path, you know you have one of these homes, and there are actual oil lanterns, street lamps, and on your other side is the gentle ocean at dusk, or maybe even an early morning. Oh god, a nice bit of fog rolling in, and the ding, ding, maybe some seagulls. Oh, and there's the silver moonlight projected across the fog, and the glowing of the lights, the street lamps in the fog. And it's cool. It's just cold enough for you to need a jacket. And you can smell the salty sea air. That's the path I chose not to walk because it wasn't viable. Just ask me to tell you about the rabbits, and then fucking shoot me in the back of the head. Put me out of my misery, please. The only reason I'm not more devastated is I knew something had to be wrong here. This is way too good to be true. God would not do this, something like this for me. Oh, God, why would you do that to me? The greatest path in the world that goes nowhere versus the worst path in the world that has a chance of going somewhere, not even a guaranteed thing. And it's probably a low percentage chance. But it all always comes back to faith. You do this because you have faith in this one truth. And odds are good you'll never achieve it, but you have faith it is there, and choosing anything else but to pursue this one truth is unacceptable. Anyway, trying to get back on track, fetishes and the unconscious identity exploration. I think each person's fetishes speak to some aspect of their unconscious, an important aspect. And I don't think there's ever any resolving your fetishes or these aspects. I think you have them in part to define your purpose, what you're alive to do, and to help you understand it, and in connecting with yourself, also to connect with whatever out there is greater. And I do think fetishes have everything to do with your purpose. Why do you think there are so many one sort of fetishistic person in power around the world? Okay, why do you think most furries seem to have a lot of disposable income? You could make the gay jokes, but gay people are broke these days. But the money keeps flowing for furries. I'm into size. Shrinking and growing, giant people and tiny people. Why do you think we are the most artistically wealthy fetish in the land? Furries have the volume, but we have the talent, and it's not even close. I think part of that comes from the fact that our interests can never even try to be real. So you're forced to abstract, to conceptualize, and when you do that, even if you're trying just to get off physically, you're still in abstract land. So you're a spiritual obligate, or an obligate spiritualist. You can't not go abstract at least a little bit. And speaking with this woman, this opened up a brand new world for me. I mean, I know women are into size, and I know some of them are into the giant side of things. I know some of them are into the sadism side of things. Fuck that. Each time you add an interest or something, you are chopping that already small percentage down, halving it, or even fourthing it, one after another. But they're out there. They exist. The punishers and the absolvers, and the punished and the absolved. And this is another thing, right? It's an ongoing process. You'll never be punished enough, or you'll never do enough punishing. But as long as you are together and engaging, you are above the clouds. And there are so many ways to carry out your shared purpose. It feels like what you're here to do is to act these things out ritually together. The journey truly is the destination. But at the same time, each time you do this, it has ripples. You engage in this and you religious nut, and your entire being shakes. Things rattle loose, or things rattle and come up to the surface. And with each new thing you learn, or with each new lead you develop, you get closer to the as above. And I think you can do this in the absence of sex, but I think there's a ceiling. You're also limiting your speed. You're limiting yourself in so many ways. You're incomplete. And maybe that's another part of this. You're looking to be completed and to complete someone. That's why I still contend sexual connectivity it comes first. It's the most important thing. After that, everything else can be worked out. Because your sexual connection is your spiritual connection. If that's solid, everything else is a matter of choice. Everything else you can work out. Your sexual connection is the key to everything. In fact, it's almost like it unlocks everything else if you choose to use it that way. But if you don't have that, you are doomed. As in, this Jake and the Clones dream. Well, no, I said as in as if that was a smooth transition. It wasn't. That was a talking series of parentheticals. That was jumping way back in the parentheses line. Anyway, this Jake and the Clones dream has been baffling me. I'm still chipping away at it. But I wouldn't have realized what Jake's torturing of this clone meant. Oh, I still don't know what it means, but I should say I didn't even know what it was until getting to interact with this woman and realizing I want her to hurt me, I want her to step on me, I want her to stare at me with 1,000 eyes that I find unfair and judge me in a way I feel unfairly. And that's another fold to all this. I feel my punishment, my existential punishment, is unfair. That's why knowing that line is so important. It doesn't really matter because you're being punished either way. This is like deciding how you act while you're in prison, unjustifiably. You just go on about your business and you get fucked. Well, you get fucked. That's not fair. That's not cool. That's wrong. But if you go around prison being a dickhead and being awful and being evil, then you get gutsed, and it's now you deserve it. And that's also not fair, right? How can you expect someone not to adapt to the situation you put them in? It's all unfairness. And I wanted her to judge me with eyes I deem to be unfair, and to wound me and to cripple me, to make me feel as insignificant as I feel and in fact am, if you're also using her as a channeling or an avatar of the expanse of existence and how uncaring it is and how much effortless, maybe even unaware power it has over you. But you want to be punished because you feel guilty, and you want to be forgiven even though it's unfair. You want to feel like everything will be okay. And even if it is unfair, I don't have the words for this yet. You want to connect with this great, powerful being, which is life, which is existence, channeled through her, and you want to work out the misunderstanding. You both want to see each other, to recognize one another, and to disappear, to annihilate all the differences and make everything okay. To end the unjust punishment, or maybe even to realize that it is justified, but then to understand and to be changed, to be transformed. Transformative love. Religious orgasm. The holy duo. The dyad. And then for everything to be okay. For the scary not to be so scary. For the painful not to be so painful. For everything to be one. Like Morpheus from Deus Ex, God was a dream of good government. What is it? Judgment is the one true desire common to all humans. That's what God is, the desire to be judged. To be judged, and also to be judged fairly or favorably. I think as people we are defined by disconnects, our disconnections. And today was a Fight Club day. My elbow, I weigh 195 pounds right now. I haven't been under 200 in at least 10 years. My elbow was feeling better today, so I started lifting again lightly. and I was watching Fight Club. If our fathers are our models for God, that's really not something you want to think about or even acknowledge in relation to your fetishism and your spiritual searching. I have stumbled face first into that a couple times, and it is so disturbing the moment you realize it. You shut it out and try not to think about it, but it's there. With this woman, at least for me, I wanted her to be so many things, and the connection I wanted to have with my father is one of them. And that is so sick and unnerving. But from what I understand, I get the impression I'm the same thing for her, but again, it's a little different. It's a little more typically Freudian. Freudian is never fun, but at least heterosexual Freudianism makes you not want to die. Anyway, you're looking for a partner to be so many things, and I don't think that's unfair at all, as long as you found the correct person, because when you have, you are their everything, or they are your everything, everything to you, everything you need them to be, and vice versa. Again, these deep compliments. This video's been messy, but I think I've made all the points I needed to make. Sexuality is a tool, fetishism is a super tool, with all different fetishes with implications, conscious and unconscious, internal and external. It helps that these things are pastimes, so it's fun to engage with them. Here's maybe the final way to phrase it. Fetishes help your conscious mind find purpose and achieve clarity. They help you know your unconscious mind. But the thing is, within your unconscious mind is your purpose. You already have a purpose. It's just a matter of whether, and that's another thing, people act like you go out and you find your purpose. Like, or you invent your purpose, as if something like purpose is something you can invent. You're born with it, and you won't find it by going out and looking for it. You certainly won't invent it. Your only hope is to access it and to know it as much as you can with your little human mind. I'm fucking it all up by trying to summarize it. I hope you can watch this, but then again, I feel like I have made as many points as I can right now. There are more points to make, more points to be made. This video is the best I can do right now, and I hope you were able to receive the vibes transmission and feel me. And hey, if you're a woman into the sadistic side of size, especially the fear, oh god, the fear, find a way to find me. Over the next year, I think I'll be pushing for this harder. This all really lit a fire under my ass. I like gardening, but we can be gardening to a much higher level. Now that I'm aware that these are truly natty gains that can be achieved, we've set a new standard. A standard I knew existed, but I never thought I would see in my lifetime. We're gonna get there. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.